We all love to live a perfect Christian life, but we all stumble, don't we? And I think the question is, what do you do after you stumble that makes the difference? Let's talk about it in our morning cup of inspiration. Thanks for joining me this morning. I was reading this morning in Matthew, the 26th chapter, and it was a little comforting to know that the disciples were no different than the rest of us. I want to just read a little bit here and there. Starting with the 31st verse, when Jesus took the disciples to the Mount of Olives, one of the first things he said is, all of you will be made to stumble tonight. They were going to stumble. Jesus told them ahead of time. But it was interesting. Listen to what they had to say. And Peter was one of the adamant ones. He said, I will never be made to stumble. And went on to say, and then Jesus said, Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter said, I will never deny you. And then all the other disciples agreed and said the same thing. So probably part of the first issues was a matter of pride and a matter of being in denial that Jesus told them they were going to stumble, and they refused to believe it. So then what happens? Jesus goes on to pray and they fall asleep. He comes back. They're still sleeping. And he says in the 41st verse, he says, watch and pray lest you enter into the temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Our flesh is weak, isn't it? That's part of why we stumble. And so the soldiers came to take Jesus away. And what happens down in the 59th verse, before it's all over, all the disciples forsook him and fled. They all stumbled. They all fled. And Peter, poor old Peter, he does go on to deny Jesus 3 times that night. And when he realizes it and makes eye contact with Jesus, he bitterly weeps and leaves. But here's the question. We know we're going to stumble. But what are we going to do after that stumble? Are we going to give up and quit? Or are we going to dust ourselves off, go to the Lord humbly asking for forgiveness, and moving forward again? As you know, that's what the disciples did. And Peter became the rock that was the foundation of the church that we know today. So I encourage you today, if you stumble, you're going to stumble. Don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Don't think I'll never be better, but just ask the Lord for forgiveness and move forward, knowing that you can be part of that foundation of building the church for Jesus Christ. God bless. Thanks for joining me for that morning cup of inspiration, and we'll see you next time.